My guest is an expert authority coach, best-selling author, and a trusted voice guiding thought leaders, creatives, and heart-driven entrepreneurs to own their brilliance and build magnetic, profitable, and personal brands. With over 2 decades of experience in media, marketing, and coaching, she's helped countless individuals turn their stories, scars, and skills into unshakable confidence and cash flowing clarity. She's also a trailblazer in helping people harness AI in authentic and soulful ways, especially when it comes to marketing and content creation. In this conversation, we dive deep into her entrepreneurial journey, the highs, the hard lessons, and the heart centered wisdom she's gathered along the way. We'll talk about her books, her perspectives on avoiding burnout, overcoming imposter syndrome, and how she helps others shine boldly and unapologetically in today's digital world. So, whether you are building a brand, writing your first book, or just trying to rediscover your voice, this is a conversation you don't want to miss. My guest today is Christine Blosdale. Welcome to my show, Christine.
Oh, Kofi, thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
All right. So, Christine, for listeners meeting you for the first time, how do you describe what you do today as an expert authority coach?
It's an interesting thing because many people say, what is that? I know what a social media coach is. I know what a life coach is, but what is an expert authority coach? So I started many, many years ago working for America Online back in the day, before you were born, probably, Kofi. And it was the only thing, right? It was really the only thing that we had. But it was quite marvelous because it allowed, at that time, it allowed creatives, writers, people that were in different professions to write on a platform that reached a lot of people. And part of my job description was to, and it was an entertainment column, so I was the one that went to all the premieres and spoke to the celebrities and the directors and things like that. And my job was to write so that it was appealing to people that were from 8 to 80. Now that's a very large demographic, and if you're ever told that's your audience, you need to think about things and how you create content. And so this was way before the days of Shrek, but I liken the work that I did for America Online as to those Shrek movies where, children enjoy it, adults enjoy Shrek movies as well because they get the innuendos. And so that's how I began my content creation career. And because I had such a large audience, I learned very quickly how to narrow down and focus on the things that people really want. And when you know what people really want, you can, I'll give the analogy of, in baseball of hitting a home run because you can connect with them. And there's three things, there's three pillars that you really want to think about. In any business, if you're able to, even one of these, if you're able to focus in on them, then you have a really good chance at being successful. And that's health, wealth, and love. And if you can incorporate that into your job, into your career, there's great movement with that, right? So I started way back then doing that. Accidentally had fallen in love with radio through after 9/11 happened. When 9/11 happened, I remember where I was. A lot of people remember where they were. And I really questioned what I was doing. I was like, why am I going to these premieres? And do people really care about what Angelina Jolie is wearing? Or, I just really wasn't very happy with what I was doing. And so I found by accident, but it was meant to be, a radio station in Los Angeles that was talking about things that the mainstream media wasn't talking about. And it was things that I had never heard about. And I thought it was such an interesting concept. Many people were community members. These were volunteers, and they were just speaking from the heart. And so I went into that radio station. I remember that day I walked in and I just said, I want to thank everybody. I just want to be grateful and thank everyone for the job that they're doing during these really tough times. And when I went in there, they said, so what do you do? And I was like, I write an entertainment column for AOL, and but I'm not. I'm really looking at doing something else. And they said, well, you should come in and volunteer. And I started volunteering there, and I was there for 20 years. I started off as a writer, then a producer, and then that Hollywood story, Kofi. You know the Hollywood story where the star, oh, they broke their leg, or they're in a coma, and you have to go on stage, you have to go on camera. Well, mine was you have to do the show, you have to go behind the microphone and do an hour during drive time in Los Angeles. And I was like, no, I'm behind the scenes, not stepping into my power. No, I'm just supposed to be behind here helping you guys out. And they said, you have to do it because there's no other choice. We have to have a show. And so I went into that little studio. I put the headphones on. I pulled the microphone next to me. And as soon as that on-air light went on, it was magic. It was... I can't even explain it. I was able to connect with the audience in such a way where even though I couldn't see them or hear them, I could feel them. And so that began my radio broadcasting career. And I've learned that in everything that I do, even those shows that I hosted in so many years, I always wanted to bring something to the audience that they wanted, that they needed. It wasn't about me. It wasn't about my ego. It was about giving them something that they could share with others or would make their lives better. So that's how I started. And I just have I have an intuition where I know what people need and want and how to deliver it. Right? So that's the long answer to that question. That's sort of the beginnings, right? That's way back in the day. And I've always been a teacher. I've always loved teaching people skills, looking at the things that they're doing and giving my opinion. I'll give you an opinion. If you own a spa or if you own a coaching business, I'll make sure that I give my opinion on it and tell you what you're doing right. And then the things that I think that you could do better, or the things that I see that are missing, maybe you didn't think about, there's no email or phone number on your website, something like that. I'll speak up and say that. So that's how I've morphed into this expert authority coach.
All right. So let's still go back to the early days. What really sparked your entrepreneurial journey?
I have always been an entrepreneur. I was one of those kids, Kofi, that I hated asking especially my dad. I hated asking him for money for anything, right? For ice cream or for candy or whatever a kid wants. And so I would create little businesses as a child. I would sell lemonade or cookies, or I had, dolls, and I would do barter system with my neighbor and say, I'll give you this doll if you give me that, G.I. Joe doll, whatever I could do. But it was a way of making money at a really young age because I liked that independence. I really did. And I said, you know what? I don't have to ask my dad for money. I can make my own money. And so that sparked it at a very young age. And then I think the love of sound, of audio, my mother sparked that at a very young age as well. She gave me one time, and it was as if she had given me a puppy or a bike, but she gave me a little cassette recorder, the old-time cassette recorders, and I would create stories and leave messages for her because she was a single mom and she had to work very late. So I would record something for her, and when she came home, she could listen to me, saying my stories and how much I loved her. And so it was a blend of all of those things that when you're a kid, I want to be independent, I want to make my own money, and gosh, I love this thing called audio. I really do.
Right. You're also an author of so many books. I'd like us to spend some time with you telling us about the books you've written so far and what really inspired you to write these books.
Well, I always wanted to write a book for years and years, and I thought that, like many of my clients, I thought that it was going to be too hard. So I put it off and I put it off. And I said, no, I imagined in my mind, I have to have a publisher. I'd have to write a novel. When there's a blank page in front of me, I'm like a deer in headlights because I don't know where to go. I don't know what to start with. And then I realized that I'm not even so much a writer. I have 5 best-selling books, but I'm a talker. And so I went through and basically took all of the things that all the workshops, all the webinars, all the speaking engagements, all of the trainings that I've done with my clients, some podcast episodes. I have 3 podcasts now. I don't recommend that, Kofi. Just one is fine. I took the videos from all those things that I've been speaking about for so many years, and I've turned them into books. And everybody that's listening to this, you have a book within you. It does not matter what it is that you do, but if you've experienced something, if you've overcome some obstacle, if you're funny, you have the ability to write a book. And so that's what I basically did. And with the help of AI, that helps a lot. I was able to turn those books into bestsellers and to get them published. And I self-published them all. But 4 of the books were on podcasting, because there's an explosion of talent out there, as you know. And I wanted to give people the tools and inspiration to create their own podcast from a marketing standpoint. It's a brilliant idea. It's like having your own radio station or television station. And so the first 4 books were on podcasting. And then the last book, The Social Media and Branding Survival Guide, these are all my tips and tricks on things that you can do in an simple and easy way. And many of them are free that you can actually do right away to start promoting your business. And that one, because it's such a different one from just the podcasting, although podcasting is one of the strategies, I really dig it, and the feedback I've been getting off of it is lovely.
So how have your books contributed to establishing, first of all, your authority and also your personal brand?
And this is what I tell many of my clients. If they don't have a book, I encourage them to put that in their mind that they can write that book. When you have a book, and I know this from my days of being a radio producer and host, we get pitched, and as a podcast host, you get pitched a lot as well. We get pitched from publicists, from people themselves who say, I want to be on your show. Hey, I want to be on the radio. I want to be on your podcast. And that's nice, but I'll look at their bio. I'll look at what would make them an interesting guest. And if they have a book, then I know that they have follow through, but then it's also something for me to refer to. A lot of times I would ask for a copy of the book, or, if they couldn't give me the hard copy of the book, even a PDF, but I would be able to have something to hold on to and have conversation about, right? But it also shows a great deal of follow through, and that having a best-selling book is even better, but it does raise up your expert authority. It just does. It's like if you're a health professional and you have a degree, right? It helps. It helps people know that you're an actual professional.
So you've been on this entrepreneurial journey for some time. Like any journey, there are highs, there are lows, and there are a lot of lessons we pick up. So let's start off with some of the challenges. What are some of the challenges you've encountered on this entrepreneurial journey?
Well, one thing that I don't have is I don't have a problem working by myself, because I like my company and I work very, very hard. I work harder when I'm by myself, right? In the solo journey, as opposed to a bunch of people around me. But I would say that probably the thing that's not stopped me, but it really held me back for a long time, was not wanting to be center stage. Again, saying, oh, no, I'm just in the background. I'm the writer or the producer. I'm not the star. And it took me a long time to actually put myself out there. And what I say to people who understand that and who can relate to that is, don't do that, because you're holding back. And with you holding back, there are people out there that need you, that they need your advice or your motivation or your inspirational stories. They need your expertise. They need to know that they're not alone, that they can relate to someone, that authenticity that you're going to put out is something that they crave. Humanity is craving authenticity, because right now you can see all the old systems are crumbling away. The perfectionism, the Kardashianism, Hollywood is just crumbling as we speak. Politics, borders, and boundaries. We're craving that connection with each other. Even though I, in the beginning, was very hesitant about coming forward and saying, hey, I've got something to share with you, I encourage people to step aside from that fear and think about the people that you can impact, the people that are waiting for you to show up.
Okay. So just as there's been challenges, I believe on this journey there's also been a lot of lessons you've picked up. What indeed are some of the lessons you've picked up on this journey you'd like to share with my audience?
That when you actually step into your power and you focus on the things that you do love, that you love to do, there's magic in that and there's energy in that. Also, because I've seen this in some clients, the energy that you put off, even though you may think that you're fooling people and you're putting on a happy face, if you're desperate or if you're living a scarcity mindset, right? And not to get too woo-woo, but it has an energy, it has a smell. So realize that what you're putting off into the world can be very powerful, right? And people can feel it. So really those lessons that when you accomplish something, praise yourself for those things. If you do write a book and you self-publish it, praise yourself for that. Hey, I did something. I did a big thing, right? If it goes to the next level and it becomes a bestseller, tell your friends and family and tell people, hey, I just became a best-selling author. This is awesome. Celebrate those small wins and you'll find that the opportunities will come to you much quicker. Instead of saying, I'm not gonna brag about this. And it's not bragging. It's just telling people what's going on in your life. And I think it's really important for us to take stock in that. And imposter syndrome is another issue that people have, but we work on that with my clients.
All right. So you're also a strong advocate for using AI in marketing. How do you see entrepreneurs and small business owners using AI effectively without losing their authenticity?
This is an issue because I do see a lot of people using AI inappropriately. And when I say that, that means, if you go on, if you're a self-publisher, you know that every second there's a new book that's being published on Amazon. And people have gotten the idea of, oh, great, AI is amazing. I'll just have it write the book for me. And so they'll say, they'll put a prompt in there and say, write me a book about whatever. And they'll try and get it published or they'll put it out there. And the unfortunate thing is that it's not from a human's mind, right? It's generated from all this content that's already out there. It doesn't have that human fingerprint, let's put it that way. And so people are doing that in droves, and it's not your work. It doesn't come from your mind. It doesn't come from your memories or your experience or anything like that. Now, what I do, and this is what I love about AI, if I've got an idea for something, I'll give as much information as I can into the AI tool that I'm using, and I'll say, how viable is this idea for this program or this course that I'm thinking about doing or this book that I'm thinking about writing? And I'll ask it for feedback. I won't ask it to write it for me, but I'll ask it to give me feedback. And I'll say, this is my ideal client. Tell me how this book or this course or this program, tell me how this will benefit them. And it helps me when I'm trying to communicate with my clients or with potential clients to communicate what that program is or that offer. And it helps me be very clear because AI is very, very smart. So I'll use it in that respect. And those books that I was talking to you about, because I'm a speaker and I'm not a writer, I would use an AI tool, and this is for your audience. If they're also speakers and not writers, it's a tool called Video to Blog, and it's brilliant. It will take your videos. It could be an hour video, could be 20 minutes, could be 2 hours, and it will take your video, and it will not just give you a transcription, because reading a transcription would be boring, right? It takes it and it turns it into sort of a blog or a readable article. And from that, you can take those blogs or articles and you can tell it, keep it in this tone, make it informal, make it, short, long, make sure you use these keywords, right? And you can tell it to take the video and create something that's enjoyable to read. And then you've got chapters in your book or modules in a course, if that's what you want to do. So I've found that that AI tool has helped me tremendously. And if I wanted to, I could pump out a book, every month. I'm not going to do that, but because I do a lot of talking. But it's a great tool, and people should try it. It's a fun tool to use.
All right. So what advice would you give to entrepreneurs who are, first of all, they are intimidated by AI or they don't know where to begin? What advice would you give to such people?
I would say really, especially if it's an entrepreneur and they're trying to promote their business or themselves. I think it'd be great just even to go into a chat GPT, or I use Perplexity as well, and take stock in yourself. Remember, we all at this point probably have a digital footprint. We've got social media out there. We might have a website. If you're a business owner, I hope you have a website so people can find you. But ask it to do some research on you. It's like one of my questions. I have a quiz that people can take at my website, and it's called the Expert Authority Quiz. And basically, these are questions that you should be asking yourself. But if you even went into that quiz and took those questions and threw them into ChatGPT or Perplexity and asked them about yourself, you'd be surprised. And you'd be surprised at what it picks up. So you want to use those tools, in a simple and easy way. Start off easy. Remember, AI is only going to benefit you based on your prompts. You're a director. And if you think of yourself as a director working with AI, you're going to tell it what you want it to do. Okay? So you don't just put something in there and say, make it better. You can say, this is the idea I have for a program or for a title of a book. What do you think? And it will tell you what it thinks. But I prefer to actually go in and prompt it and tell it exactly what it is that I want it to do. So if you're able to do that like a director, then you'll be surprised at what you get back, and it becomes addictive. Because it's like a really, really great assistant. And this assistant will tell you, that's a brilliant idea, but you know what? It's a little foggy in direction. Maybe you might want to consider doing this, and then you keep prompting it. You need to massage those prompts, if that makes sense to you, Kofi.
So today's audience crave realness. What's your approach to building an authentic and relatable personal brand?
That is my big one. As I mentioned earlier, I think as a species, humanity is craving authenticity because we feel betrayed in so many ways. We feel lied to in so many ways that we don't know what the truth is, right? And I don't have to talk about politics. I don't have to talk about the global situation, but we all know anyway. So that's why platforms like TikTok are so big, because people are searching out that authenticity and that realness. And so I tell my clients all the time, there's power in being authentic and even being vulnerable once in a while. We don't want to just go to the mountaintop and give our allegiance to some guru. We want to walk up to the mountaintop with someone. And so for myself as a coach, I'm very real with my clients. If I'm not feeling well and I want to give them 100% of my attention and my energy and my wisdom, I'll tell them, I'll say, I'm not feeling well, or I'm feeling a bit low today, and I really want to have time with you that is to you. And they appreciate that. So trying to be perfect all the time it's exhausting, right? And it's not relatable. So being honest and being authentic, coming from that place where we can connect with one another, it's beautiful, and it's needed right now.
So you talked about it taking you some time for you to put yourself out there. And many people find themselves in that same situation where they find that they struggle to put themselves out there. How do you coach your clients to kind of show up confidently and consistently online?
I remind them that it's not about them. And they always look at me like, huh? And I say, it's not about you. It's about the people that you want to serve, or it's about the audience if you want to do a podcast or things like that, or if you want to write a book, it's about the reader. It's always about the people that you want to impact. That's why you got started, right? Now, if you went strictly for, well, I want to make a lot of money, then this isn't going to apply to you. But that's usually not the case. A lot of times people do it because of passion, right? So it's about focusing on the people that will benefit from you showing up. And when you do that, it makes it much easier.
So earlier on, you touched on imposter syndrome. So I want us to look at imposter syndrome and how it is limiting the performance of so many people. And just as you know, imposter syndrome is very real for many entrepreneurs. But how can someone transform those feelings into unshakable kind of confidence?
Work with me. So I've had a few clients that really have suffered from that. And when I look at their life and I look at what they have done, I'm like, why are you even considering not going through and not showing up? And it's because, when we're little, and a lot of times it happens in the first 10 years of life, right? Where we're told something. We're told you're not good enough, or you're not smart enough, or you're this or you're that. You will always be this. It could be an adult, it could be a parent, it could be somebody that's of authority. And we tend to believe those stories because when we're really young, we're very open and vulnerable. And so when somebody says something, we think that's who we are. And again, I focus on the people that you want to serve. I have one client, and she was an amazing performance artist. Now, when it came time to do things performance art-wise, she was brilliant and had no fear of showing up and doing amazing work. But when it came time to actually, when we were trying to have her do video and be in front of the camera, she just would freeze, and she would just say, I don't like how I look on camera. I don't like how I speak on camera. I don't think that, this is going to be good enough. People are going to think I'm crazy, and all those things, right? What are people going to think? What are people going to say? Who am I to do this? And I had to stop her. And I said, why in the first place do you want to do this? Why do you want to have a podcast? Or why do you want to create video content? Well, I want to inspire young people to be more creative and to go into creative arts, right? Performance art or painting, whatever. I said, okay. I said, so right now, all of the objections that you have are all about you and how you look and how you will be portrayed. And it's nothing about those children that you want to serve, that you want to inspire. And I said, so remember, it's not about you. It's about those kids. And once we started working on that, right, she was able to understand, I have to show up. I have to be a role model for these children who I say that I want to serve. So we do those little experiments. Sometimes people have it with their voice. They hate their voice. And I have a little exercise that we do. And I don't do it with them. I tell them to do it. And that's a simple one because a lot of times people don't like their voice. And if they're going to have a podcast show, they got to they got to at least like their voice, tolerate their voice. And so I'll just say, go in the shower, when you're going in the shower, nice warm environment. The acoustics are great. I said, take your phone or take don't put it in the shower. Don't put the phone or the laptop in the shower, but have some sort of device where you can find, on YouTube, you can find the karaoke versions of just about any song. And for me, it was the Carpenters. I grew up during a time when Karen Carpenter, her voice was just melody magic for me. And so I say, take a song that you know the words to, that you used to sing as a kid, and get the karaoke version. And right before you jump in the shower, this is an exercise. It's not about being in there for an hour. Just hit that song and jump in the shower and sing it. And you know what? People go, you know what? My voice is I like my voice. And it's because they're comfortable in the shower, it does sound really good. I'll have them be in a space where they're comfortable, and sometimes they go, but my kids are home, and I said that doesn't matter. Just do it. Just tell them it's an exercise that your coach told you to do. But you'd be surprised at how people, they turn around, they go, you know what? My voice is pretty good.
I guess we all try it.
You're going to try that today, later on.
Yeah. So you often talk about cash flow clarity. What does that mean?
You know what? It's once you get somebody over the imposter syndrome and you actually have them focus on their business. So it doesn't matter if they're a coach, if they're an author, if they're a consultant or a service provider of any sort, or even brick and mortar, but mostly service providers, right? A lot of times people tend to undervalue their service. And this happens a lot more than you would expect. So one of the first things I do is I ask my clients if they have a website and they have their programs or their services available. I'll ask if I can check out how they describe them, but also the pricing, right? And you'd be shocked at how people undervalue their time. And so they'll say the usual excuse is, well, I don't want people to miss the opportunity, or I want to be affordable for everybody. And I'll say, okay, that's good, but realize that there are people that will want to pay you what you're worth, and you're not just bringing an hourly rate. You're not working in a supermarket. You are bringing all your years of expertise, all your ups and downs, all the things that you've learned into that hour. Let's say it's an hour coaching session. So charging somebody, $25 or $30 or, for your time, they're not going to value that time with you, because that's something that you would get, like I said, working in a 9-to-5 job somewhere. And I said, you're bringing all this expertise. So we want to make sure that we value ourselves and we price ourselves accordingly. Now, I'm not saying go crazy and say, $10,000 an hour, but I know some people that charge a lot of money for what they do, and there are people that will pay for it. But price yourself accordingly. Number one. The other thing is that there's multiple ways of bringing in income. Doesn't just have to be about booking those clients, those single sessions and things like that. So there's affiliate marketing that you can do. There's collaboration projects that you can do, where you can bring in more income, but it's not just reliant on one source, okay? So, those books, I'm not going to retire on the royalty, the money from the books that I've written, but they're going to help me get to another phase, maybe get to a stage, reach other people so that I can bring more clients into me. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So we're just about wrapping up our conversation. There are a lot of people listening to us today. What would be your pieces of advice to our listeners before we wrap up?
If you resonated with anything that we were talking about today, if you've got I get goosebumps. I get the hairs on my, my neck or my arms go up. And when they go up, it's the goosebumps tell me that yes. It's like the universe saying, yes. This is good. This is important. Listen. So if any of that happened during our conversation, take action. Don't just sit on this. Don't say one day I'll write that book, or one day I'll create the website, or one day I'll become a coach, or one day I'll create a podcast. Just make sure that you take action, because the world is made up of lots of people who said one day, and you don't want to look back and regret that. So, give it a try. I hate to say it, the Nike slogan, just do it, but just do it. Because you don't know what's going to happen. It could be like the best part of your life is coming out and doing those things. So I really encourage people to do that. And if they need assistance along the way, if they need help, if they're like, I don't know what to do first, then don't be overwhelmed. Always reach out to a mentor, to a coach, someone that can guide you so you don't feel all alone. And they can always reach out to me. I offer a free consultation, and I sit down with people and find out what lights them up, what makes them excited, and then we go towards the easiest way to get there. And that's all available at my website, which is expertauthoritycoach.com.
All right, so take action. Christine, before I sign off, what will be your last words for my audience?
I have at the bottom of every page on my website a saying, okay, and it's not trademarked, so it could be anybody can use it, but it's, if you're not seen and heard, you're not hired. So if you're not seen and heard, you're not hired. In other words, get out there, do the videos, do the podcasts, write those books, do the content. You need to be seen and heard in order for people to know that you exist and that you could be of benefit to them. So if you, and if you forget what the saying is, you can go to my website, look at the very bottom of every single page. It's there just to remind you that you need to be seen and heard.
All right. So if you are not seen or heard, you are not hired. I
You're
believe
not
I got it
hired.
right.
I'm going to make that a tattoo.
All right. So if you are not seen or heard, you are not hired. So thank you once again, Christine, for sharing your rich experience with us today on the Entrepreneur Speaks podcast. We wish you the very best.
Thank you, darling. Thank you, Kofi, so much.
All right. So this has been another exciting episode of the Entrepreneur Speaks podcast. We'll come your way next time with another inspiring episode. I remain your host, Kofi Anyemedu. As always, do take good care of yourself and let's continue to keep hope alive. Cheers.